Hi friends, I'm Felicia. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to do a spoilery book talk about Room by Emma Donoghue. So if you haven't read it, I would suggest that you wait to watch this video until you've read the book, if you plan on reading it and you don't want to be spoiled, because I will have lots of spoilers in this book talk. I've never done a book talk before, but I have a lot of thoughts about this book, so I kind of just want to make a video and share them with you and see if you have, thoughts on the book as well. And then we can talk about it, because, yeah, whatever. I just want to talk about my thoughts, because I have a lot of thoughts. So, I read Room, I think I read it in 2010. I know that I bought it either shortly before or shortly after I got married, and I think I read it after I got married, which was in 2011. So I thought that there were like a lot of interesting themes in this book, as far as things that Emma Donoghue was kind of carrying through the book and things that she did. I thought the way that she kind of structured the book was really interesting, because at the beginning of the book it feels very routine, and she's like describing their daily routine, Ma and Jack's routine in the room, and Jack's telling us about all the things that they do every day, and we do this on Wednesday, we do this on Thursday, lunch is between 12 and 12:30, those kinds of things, and you kind of feel like the monotony of them being in this room, and you kind of feel for Ma, because it's just kind of the same day in and day out. And like Emma Donoghue is setting up just that this is their life, and they've made a routine, and it's normal for them. Also, I felt like at the end of the book, when they're out of room and they're in the independent living, then Jack is telling us about all of these different things that they do now, kind of in the routine of their independent living, and kind of like just like the little everyday things. Like he says that his grandma and Stepa come visit them, like they go to a store and they buy this, and then they have strawberry ice cream for dessert, and then next day it's rainy so they stay inside and play, and then the next day it's nice enough for them to go outside. So the book kind of feels like, it's like normal routine, and then it goes up with them trying to get out of room, and then they get out of room, and then they're adjusting to life outside of room, and then Ma, tries to commit suicide, and then Jack's living with his grandma and Stepa, and then Ma's okay, and they live in independent living, and then it kind of comes down like this. So after, the book starts kind of like this, then it goes like this for like all of the book, and then it comes back down, and then it goes like this again. Just kind of letting us know that they're not okay, but they're adjusting and they're getting used to it, and so they're in a routine, and they're gonna be okay. And so I just felt that was kind of interesting, that she kind of started and ended the book with the same kind of feeling. So that was one thing that kind of stood out to me there. This isn't really like a fully formed thought. It's just a thought that kind of has stuck in my mind, is that I noticed that maybe to balance the portrayal of old Nick, the man that keeps them in room, I noticed there were lots of nurturing father figures in the book. The man that Jack runs up to after he gets out of the truck and old Nick is chasing him is a man walking his dog and pushing his baby in a stroller, I think it was. She's showing this nurturing father figure that is, spending time with his baby alone without the baby's mother. I just found it interesting that it was a man that Jack was running away from, and it was a man that found him and who called the police and helped him. They helped him get away from old Nick. And then there's also the time when Jack and his grandma, I think it was, they went to a park, and then there was a child there with her fathers. She had two dads. Yeah, and just like showing, again, nurturing fathers with their child. And, they were very friendly to Jack. Very different from old Nick, who Jack had to hide from his whole life. And yeah, I found that interesting that she just made sure to put so many positive father figures in there. And even like his step grandpa or his steppa, he was at times like more nurturing to Jack than his grandma was. And he just really understood Jack. And he was like buddies. And then Jack has his Uncle Paul that was also like just very nurturing and accepting. And so yeah, I thought that it was interesting that she made sure to show that there are good men in the world. Like for every bad man, there are so many good ones that are good fathers and everything. So yeah, I kind of like that Emma Donoghue made sure to write her story like that. And then at the same time, she had so many good women, like the officer that found them, Officer O, and there were the nurses at the clinic where they were, and they were all very nurturing as well. And yeah, she just showed that there were so many good people in the world trying to help them out of this situation and trying to help them adjust. And I think it showed that even though there is just evil in the world and there are bad people like this, like Old Nick, that there are more people that want to help others and be there for them and help them. And I thought that was just really good, the way that she showed that. I think she just showed that in a really good way, that you just like, you get that sense of hope that there are people around them and they're going to help them adjust to life after this trauma that they've experienced Ma has experienced the last 7 years, and Jack his whole life. Another thing that I thought was really interesting about this book is just the voice, that she chose to write it in the perspective of a 5-year-old boy. And I think that completely changed the way that the story is. I think if she had written it from the perspective of Ma, it wouldn't have felt as terrifying, because it was very interesting. Because, we know what Jack is. We know that that he was conceived as a result of rape, and that Ma is being kept as, a prisoner, as a sex slave in room. But to Jack, that's just what life is. You live in room, and he lives with Ma. And when Old Nick comes at night, he is hiding in the wardrobe, and he is not allowed to talk to or see Old Nick. And to him, that's normal, because that's all he's known his whole life. And I think it's easy for us to put ourselves in the shoes of Ma and to think how terrifying and horrifying and just awful this would be if this happened to us. But then, I don't know, to see it from a 5-year-old's perspective, it makes it more interesting, because when they leave, he doesn't understand why Ma wants to leave room, because that's where they live, that's their life. And he doesn't understand that there are things outside of the room, that the whole world is outside of room, and that it's real. Like, he thinks it's all imaginary. It's in TV. That's imaginary stuff. It kind of forces you to think a little bit more when you're reading this book, and to actually take it in a bit more. At least I found for myself. Like, no, don't knock over my books, kitty. Look, I got a cat. This is Storm. Have you met Storm before? If you've been here a long time, you have. She doesn't like it when I hold her like that. Okay, bye. It was interesting, kind of that learning curve that Jack had when he left, and he was exposed to so many things that are normal, that are part of everyday life. And to him, he didn't understand them. He didn't understand when people asked him where his dad was. He didn't have a dad. He just had Ma. And I don't know. And I know that a lot of that comes too from just being a child and having a different perspective. So I thought that it just was really interesting. And even just the language and the grammar, it just was like this really interesting juxtaposition between just the innocence of Jack's mind and like the horror of the situation that they were in, and then the seriousness, and then going through the story, and they're in the assisted living, and then Ma, tries to commit suicide, and he has to go live with Grandma, and he just doesn't really understand it. And in those moments when you can see just his emotion coming out, and like his frustration when he gets mad, and he yells at Ma because he wanted candles on his cake, not chocolates, and he doesn't understand why he doesn't have candles. And he yells at her about that. I thought that was just really accurate for portrayal for a child. I thought, I only know like a few kids, but my nieces and nephews, yeah, I could see them getting mad about, about chocolates instead of candles, because they were expecting candles. And I think the way of telling the story through Jack's perspective, I think it makes a very interesting just storytelling process in the way that we get our information, because Jack is 5, he only knows so much, and he's not able to infer all these kind of things because he doesn't know about them. And so the way that we get information is very interesting. Like, coming back to this again, when he sees after Ma has taken her bottle of pills, he doesn't know, he just knows that something is strange because there's vomit on her pillow, and he doesn't understand. But as soon as we as like an adult reader hear that, we know that that's likely what's happened. And when he goes to get the nurse and he doesn't really understand, just hearing that from his perspective was just like, it just kind of changes things, because it's like he doesn't understand but we understand. And like, what would we do if we were in that situation with a child and we had to explain it to them? And like, I just thought about things like that while I was reading this book. I have lots of like thoughts, and they're all not even fully formed, so I'm just kind of talking it out, and I'm curious to know what your thoughts are as well. Yeah, I think that the book would have been very different had Emma Donoghue chosen to write it from the perspective of Ma, or even from someone else outside of Room, write a story like that. Maybe looking at Ma and Jack. I just heard on Reagan from Proust Project and Sasha from Book Utopia, they have a book club, and the book that they just read this past month was Baby Doll, or I think that's what it's called, and it's very similar plot to this book. It's about a woman who is being held prisoner she was kidnapped and she's being held hostage, and people don't know where she is, and she also has had a child as a result of being raped by her captor. And so I kind of want to read that book now, because I've just finished reading this one, Room, and I think it would be interesting to kind of compare the two and see how they're different. I believe this one is told from the point of view from the woman, so I think that would be interesting. Talking so much. Kind of was wondering if Emma Donoghue was trying to say something with Jack's grandparents' relationship, that his grandma is there, and like she is there, and she is just thrilled that her daughter is alive again, and that she has a grandson, and she just accepts him right away. But then Jack's real grandpa is in Australia, and like that they got divorced, and I wonder if that divorce was a result of them thinking that their child was dead or missing or whatever. I find it strange that the grandma didn't consider that her daughter was abducted. She just thought that she maybe just disappeared because she wanted to. I thought that was strange. I just feel like in this day and age that you would just assume abduction. I don't know, that's just my mind. I don't know if this is a real stat. I should have looked this up, but I'm just sitting here and talking. I feel like there's a stat that says that couples that go through a trauma of losing a child, that it's very likely for them that they will divorce or separate, because there's that pain and it's hard for them to be together still. So I wonder if that was the reason behind their divorce. Just because it's so hard on your relationship and your marriage. Or I know even I read a book by a woman who was recounting her story of they had a premature child, and often couples that have premature children, that they often get divorced as well, because the strain that puts on your marriage and just your whole life, that can often drive people apart. And it is, I would imagine it would be similar to the trauma of losing your child, that strain just just causes a rift. And so I wonder if that was the reason that Ma's parents got divorced. And then I find it interesting just that he moved back to Australia, and he came back and he couldn't handle it, and then he just left. And I was curious to know more about just what was going on there, and like what was going on in her dad's mind. Yeah, I just was interested to know that, but you know, we're hearing it from the perspective of a 5-year-old, so he's not going to know that, and he's not even going to think about it. So yeah, I just found it so strange that it seemed like he was almost upset when he found out that Ma was still alive, and like he couldn't handle that he had a grandson that was as a result, I guess, of rape, or that his grandson's father was the man that raped his daughter, and so like he just couldn't handle that. But then, you know, you have Leo, his steppa, and he just completely loves him like his real grandfather. It is his real grandfather, but like that was his own flesh and blood, you know. And so I just really I like that there was still, you know, a grandpa figure for Jack, someone to be like a father figure to him, because he doesn't have a dad. Though one thing that I found myself getting kind of annoyed at throughout the book was the breastfeeding thing, and just because I don't know, but at the same time, like I kind of understand why she put it in there. Like breastfeeding is such it's nurturing and it's comforting for children and for the mother as well. I know that that's like a really good bonding time for mothers and babies, and so that Ma would keep breastfeeding him until he was 5. Like, I think I could understand that, because he's all you have in this room. You know, you want to have that bonding and you feel extra close, and it is comforting for the mother and the baby. And so I can see why she kept doing that, and it's just very, you know, it's very nurturing. And I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? That thought kind of carries throughout the book until right at the end, when after Ma and Jack have been separated for a couple weeks, and then in that time that Ma's supply has stopped because, you know, she wasn't breastfeeding him. And I was just wondering, like, I was trying to figure out like if there was like something that could, you know, signify like that, just like that is ending. So that's like also another, you know, transition for Jack, and another, you know, life event that has happened, and now they move on from it. And yeah, I was just like kind of trying to figure out significance of that. So if that was something that stood out to you as well, like, let me know. I just got annoyed. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why I say I got annoyed with it. I didn't really get annoyed with it. No. Okay, like I understand, because this is a 5-year-old and that's just how they think. But like he kept describing it as like creamy, and I'm like, okay, I get it. It's creamy. That's fine. And I'm talking about kids, like I know all about kids. I know a little bit about kids because I have nieces and nephews. I don't know lots about kids though. So those are kind of the thoughts that I have about Room. I think this book is a book that a lot of people should read. Like, it just made me think about the fact that there are women and children. Oh, I got the hiccups. That there are thousands of women and children living in situations, if not exactly like this, but very similar. Definitely sent up a few prayers. Okay, I got the hiccups, so I'm gonna end this video now. I think that Room is an amazing book, and I think everyone should read it. And I mean, if you watch this and you haven't read it, I think you should still read it, even though I just spoiled everything for you. Yeah, so that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. So long, and thanks for all the fish.